All right, thank you very much for putting me on stage right after lunch. We lost half of the crowd, but anyway, time is running. Let me get started. So, my name is Marcus Müller, my background is actually hospitality, and I've been now in technology for the last 3 years, the co-founder of Gavendi. And the topic we're discussing today is about, there's a lot of conversation going on about attribute-based selling or attribute-based shopping. But we haven't seen many practical implementation of that practice yet. And I'd like to offer us a different perspective, which I refer to as individualized inventory distribution. But let's first just align on what do we mean when we talk about ABS or attribute-based selling or shopping, right? There's also a HEDNA paper on this, but originally it comes from the airline industry where they unstripped the core product and said, come on, let's sell these components additionally as individual attributes. Translated into hospitality, this means we have a room, we sell a view, we sell a high floor and large balcony and so on. Now, not to confuse ourselves, we're not talking about additional services we sell like breakfast or late checkout. That has been referred to as ancillary sales, just to define what we're talking about here. But when it comes very blurry at the moment is at what time are we actually upselling this attribute? Is it I'm buying a room and then I'm getting a notification after I selected it any time later, oh, do you want a high floor? Or is it directly a personalized product at the point of sale? Now, these two things are mixed up very often and they're different things. One is an upsell mechanism. The other one transforms your point of sales. The objective is slightly different. It's about building brand premium and distribution control. And this is what actually big brands are doing. Because the point of sales really is the place where the brand promise meets reality. And big brands do this with their flagship store concepts. They engage the consumer in a meaningful way. Just take Nike, Tesla, or Apple, for example. Now, this doesn't mean that we continue to upsell to the customers after they engage the product, but it's not the same thing as directly point of sales or selling upsells later. Now, we have an issue in hospitality because how do we engage the consumer in a meaningful way about what a room experience or accommodation experience is actually about? Now, we all use the terms and we know the structure of room categories and room types, but this has a couple of flaws because what is a standard room? What is a deluxe or a superior room? What does it tell me about the experience I'm going to get? It means different things to different people. And there's another issue because there's a lack of differentiation at the point of sales. As an operator, I want to make sure I'm different than the guy next door from a consumer perspective and also from an aggregator perspective. I want to have comparability. I want to sell options, alternatives to my customer to convert more. And lastly, there's another issue because it's still a real estate business. No matter how you design your property and design your rooms, you will always have idle assets because physically it's impossible to have the same room in the same location. You have different light falls, you have different views. It is not as easy. So, but we all learn to live with this compromises. We all know this. And if you ask consumers today, what is the issue with buying hotel accommodation? You have the whole spectrum, right? You have the people who are completely frustrated and saying, oh my gosh, I never get what I want. I have to call numerous times, I have to send emails, and it still doesn't work out. Or you have the people who are saying, well, I don't care. Come on, just give me a book. Don't make a big fuss of it. I just want a room, right? But no matter what, everybody, when they arrive at the property, and check in the room, they have an opinion about which other room they might have preferred or paid more for or less. And this is latest your returning customers will tell you what they want and don't want. So this just underlies the fact that our language, how we communicate and connect to the consumer is not very emotional, selling room categories. But there's another challenge with this to engage the consumer because depending on what type of travel or why we're traveling in the first place, changes my buying behavior. Because if it's a routine trip, don't bother me, I just want to have the same as always, quick and fast. If I'm looking for a weekend with my spouse, it takes longer. If I'm doing my annual vacation, it takes even longer. And we were looking for a better language to say, how can we connect emotionally better to the consumer from the point of sales? And we looked into experience management. And we determined there's kind of 4 conceptual experience dimensions we consider to develop a new language to engage the consumer. The first is the physical dimension, pretty obvious because it's all your 5 senses. It's about functionality, meaning what is in the room. I can see a big bed, 2 beds, etc. This is quite obvious. But there's a second dimension, often overlooked. We refer to that as the network dimension. And this dimension looks at the individual touch points in relation to each other, making up a whole experience. How important is a good night's sleep for me if I'm attending a party and I just want to have a room for freshen up? So, and there's this third dimension we found, which is, we call it the relational dimension, because this is about the service levels at the hotels. It's about, do I travel there because I know the chef, Michelin-star chef or whatever? But it also considers with whom I'm traveling, because I have a different experience if I'm traveling with my boss or with my wife or with my kids. And also, what other customers do I find there? Am I going there because to be seen or not to be seen? And then there's this fourth dimension, which we discovered, which is the narrative dimension. All the clues I'm getting in advance, the history of a place, which impact my experience going there. So making sense of all these conceptual ideas, we said, oh God, we got to change something. We have to change the way how we manage inventory. Okay, it cannot be room types anymore. We developed a new data structure and a new logic to engage with the consumer in a better way. And this is what we have built. We built an experience inventory platform, which is on top of property management systems and then connects to any channel you can think of. The first concept we used for developing this on this platform is we got much more granular. We added a lot more data points to each unit. So we developed a feature-based language and even developed icons to show what kind of characteristics a room might have. But we also came up, we needed some dynamic, which basically proposes the right stuff to the right customer, because we don't want to overwhelm them with information. And we refer to this concept as polydynamic merchandising. And this means pretty much this. Let's say you have a unit, and we discover it has 6 features. Now, we could sell this room and present this to the consumer as we do today, as a standard single, no preferences. Or we could sell this room as a feng shui spacious single, highlighting that it's north-facing. Or we could sell it and appealing to business traveler that is a rainforest shower and high floor. Or we could sell it even to weekend travelers as a cozy double. Now, every customer has a different willingness to pay. And we want to take advantage of this, just like a good salesperson is doing. So with this platform, we can completely change the purchase experience for direct channels. We can completely change the way how we distribute inventory to third parties. We increase the dimension for revenue management because it's done in real time with different aspects. And we introduce new automation, which is not existing today. So the first thing we did, because we couldn't get far with booking engines, we built what we refer to as sales engine. And we applied different sales tactics here, which includes attribute-based selling. But we did implement it in a different way. So we said, okay, at the point of purchase, here's a room configurator, select your preferences and get the best match. So, okay, I want high floor away from the elevator. Here's a 50% match, Marcus, but it doesn't have away from the elevator, it's high floor. And here's another 50% match, it's away from the elevator, but not high floor. Now, this is much more transparent to the consumer, and it opens up a lot more pricing strategies as well, because who says that high floor has to be more expensive than lower floor? Right? It depends on the travel. But we introduced more sales tactics. One, which I refer to as the Amazon type of selling, which is basically other people who arrived on a Tuesday wanted high floor away from the elevator. Now, this is a very powerful way of selling, because I know from my own experience, I bought a lot of books which I didn't want to just because Amazon told me other people bought it as well. So, and there's more sales tactics we applied here, which is we can sell like vacation homes. We can give individual reservation calendars with pricing to individual units for the hotelier. And we redefined packaging and dynamic bundling in a very new way. Because now you can say, sell the lower floor rooms together with parking spaces and so on and so forth. But let's look at the revenue management impact by changing to a new data structure and logic. Today, every revenue management system is obviously, as great they are, they give you the prices for the room categories you have in your property because that's what you're selling. Now, we added another dimension to this. We added feature-based demand to this. And this changes the way how we see the different unit market values. Because depending on your supply and demand, on the type of customer mixes, each individual unit might have a different market value, which then can translate back into categories, if you wanted to. But don't start selling this personalized way if you don't take care of the operation as well. So we need to look at fulfillment and not just selling personalized stuff or hyper-personalized stuff. And we introduced a new automation, which takes place, which we refer to as the Tetris game expert level, because now we can do dynamic inventory management. We can assign and reassign the reservation to optimize best fit for, depending on what your strategy is, occupancy, revenue, housekeeping challenges, etc. And we also introduced new automation for lengths of stay, which are not existing today. Let me speak a little bit about onboarding and scalability of this platform. Now, the power of AI and all this generative stuff makes it incredibly easy to take a lot of data and assign it to different data points. And that's what we're doing. So onboarding is very easy. And then there's the other thing, which we refer to as open APIs. Now, we enable everybody, any tech provider who wants to have feature-based inventory / recommendational products or recommended products according to target audience, they can connect and we can push out that product or inventory. So you might be thinking, okay, well, is this anything live? You know, what type of results is this producing? I just give you an example of 30 live hotels, which have been running for a while, about 11,500 room nights, and gives you some idea of what impact it might have. So first of all, this is the booking flow chart, meaning you can see the different sales tactics represent different colors. So the red zone means people who bought the lowest price product. And the other colors represent the other sales tactics. So bottom line, every second booking was upsold to a higher value product at the point of sales. Now let's look at some revenues. Now this is incremental revenue on top of the lowest price, representing the different sales flows and booking flows as well. Now this is a significant amount of upselling here, because consider that we are selling guaranteed bathtub versus shower, so there's no cost involved. That means it translates into the bottom line of a hotel. Average rate increased just to the configurator 90%, and even the Amazon way of selling, it's 27%. And we have that across actually the entire year. So this is a good representation for the entire year. And more, we do have data which has never been existed before. We do have individual feature requests for room experiences, what was matches, what was dismatches, what was sold. Now this allows us to do finally micro-targeting and basically give us a better return on our marketing expenses. It also helps for capital investments, because I don't have to argue about how many twin versus king rooms I need. I do have data to support my decision. And also it has an impact on pricing. So where do we see the way forward, right? I started with this attribute-based selling. It's just merely a stepping stone towards personalization. Other industries are way advanced in personalization than hotel industry or the hospitality industry, but we believe it's just a matter of time now that it comes in the full scale. And to basically show my point, it's only possible, I mean, true personalization will only be possible with advanced technology. We talk about this, but we also have to change the way we manage our data. If we don't change the structure, it will not happen. So just to illustrate our journey in this, just on this two-dimensional matrix with one axis showing the technology capability of some operator and the other one showing the inventory data structure, most of operators are obviously stuck in the room type, ancillary types of sales. And the competitive advantage is really about scale and loyalty programs to outperform the competition. Now with better technology, we can do more automated personalization, but we're still selling the same stuff to our customers. The whole attribute-based model stuff is still very largely based on room categories plus attributes, and it's a stepping stone. But we're striving for true hyper-personalization, meaning we put the right context of travel, put the right product in front of the customer, but also do the fulfillment of that operational, of that request, because it's not good if you just sell something which you can't deliver at the back end. And this is what we do. With that, thank you very much for your attention, and if there's any questions, I'll be around.